What's going on, everybody? John Ramdeen and Robin Black with you, talking about the fights that are going down this weekend. We're talking about Sage Northcutt, very interesting cat, taking on the guy that smoked CM Punk, Mickey Gall.
Say that with such enthusiasm.
There is enthusiasm there, but the guys, they're talking about him getting back into the UFC, having another fight in the UFC. There's so many other good fighters in the world that deserve their crack at the UFC. This guy is not one of them, right?
Hey, man, that's yes, that's
true.
all
I'm saying.
But that's how
I know.
that's
Things
how
aren't
the
fair.
world
I
we
know,
live
it's
in
the world.
works.
I get it.
There are people that are the biggest singers in the music business who cannot sing.
Yeah.
They just auto-tune them. They gotta have some type of auto fight app so you can just go fight.
Should we accept that?
Well,
should we accept that? Should we just go with the way things are going?
You
And
have to
garbage?
accept that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So your choices are, it can happen and make you really upset, or it can happen and you can go, no big deal, let the guy go have his fun.
Yeah,
because
no, I
it's
get it.
going to happen.
Sure.
But this is, a lot of the times we look at stuff, we're like, I can't believe that Cyborg's getting screwed. She's getting screwed, or it's being done to make you emotional, whether you get emotional or not. So don't.
I'd rather watch Ben Askren, his teammate.
What about?
I'd rather watch him.
Well, yeah. I mean,
That's what I mean. You're saying, of course.
Of course. But you being outraged about it,
I know. I'm not really
change,
outraged.
Yeah,
I'm just,
no,
that's why. This is what's going to happen. Sage Northcutt spent time training at TriStar in Montreal, no longer training at TriStar. Mickey Gall spent time there and saying he just couldn't cut it. That Sage Northcutt, he doesn't like getting hurt. When you think about this fight, you know that Sage Northcutt, a ridiculous athlete, he seems like he could be the full package if pointed in the right direction. What does he need to do? Because Mickey Gall seems mentally there.
Okay, so I would have said I had fairly big doubts that Mickey Gall would win this fight, and that is based only on the fact that I don't think he's ever fought a fighter with a winning record. Maybe that Mike Jackson, was he 1-0?
Wasn't he?
I think he might have been 0-1.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think he's ever fought a guy who's beaten another guy. Now, when you fight guys who don't know how to, low-level new guys, they're not on the same thing. I beat some of those guys, and I'm terrible. And I was like 50 years old when I did it. This is a kid. So, yes, those wins don't mean anything. They don't give him a lot of experience. Now,
doesn't he know that?
Yes, he does know that. But that alone, I think, might have made me go, well, I don't know if he's quite sure, yada, yada, yada. But when you look just at the skills and sort of how, how he pushes forward and how confident, feels like real confidence, I might have thought that was enough. But then Sage would be a little different, could piece him up on the outside if Sage was relaxed. But now that he's at TriStar, those little tricks of Sage Northcutt's with the movement, the footwork, the setups, TriStar knows those games. They all do. Eamon Zahabi knows them, and all the guys, the nice footwork guys over there.
Mandel,
Nalo. They'll be able to show Mickey Gall those games. Now, Mickey Gall, who is talented, and he fights like a guy who belongs there. Yes, he hasn't fought anybody yet, but he also has some information on how to beat this talented kid. I would lean that way as a very real possibility he can beat.
Do you have to second guess yourself if you're an athlete and you decide to travel out into the world, just say, hey, American Kickboxing Academy, let's go give these guys a whirl. But you go there knowing the fact that they're going to take your secrets. They're going to see where you're good, where you're bad, and if you decide to leave there and somebody else works there that you have as an opponent, they can use that against you.
Yeah, and there are no secrets to some degree.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if you're training with somebody and they don't have the level of jiu-jitsu that they need to have, and it's like, okay, just telling you what, this is what we need to do because there's no way he's going to be able to defend
For sure. Or they always throw a double right hand when they enter or whatever. Yeah, you'll gather some of that stuff. I think the big thing for Sage Northcutt, super athletic, super skilled,
big.
Even off his back, very big, even off his back, capable of submitting you. His wrestling he looks good. He looks really good. And the way he moves, I'm very careful on how to word this, but we've traveled around and we've seen a lot of different environments, and we study the relationship between coaches and fighters, and we study the psychology of it. And having your dad in a room overly monitoring with a sort of a hyper control mentality, and then kind of berating you after you had a half taste, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
You know, we've never seen that successful. Doesn't mean it can't be successful, but there's a real control. And we've been in the rooms, we've seen it, we've seen it a fair bit. When you see how the father is trying to run that show, that doesn't look super good to me. It looks, you can feel the kind of the hesitation, the doubt. You know, it's hard for the mentality of a kid. I like Sage Northcutt. I like watching him fight. I love his skills. The thing that makes me hesitant about seeing how far he could go is that father-son relationship that you know, we've heard lots of different reports already from other people that this isn't a great dynamic.
But one of the things, though, you also have to look at is sometimes even if there is an issue, an athlete can still have success.
100%.
Edmond Tarverdian, for example, this guy has come under fire for the last number of years, but you just have to look at Ronda Rousey's amateur fights in Tough Enough. Edmond was there in the corner, so he was there during her entire run, so you can understand why Ronda Rousey wouldn't want to turn her back on her longtime coach, just like a guy like Sage Northcutt is not going to turn his back on his father, who has probably been instrumental in helping get him where he is today.
And has probably indoctrinated him into the idea that he can trust no one but him. But correlation and causation are not the same thing. And you can succeed despite your coach, or you can succeed despite your lack of a head coach, or you can succeed despite your team. Not always necessarily because of it, but it's a fun fight. Mickey Gall looks like somebody you're going to enjoy watching for a long time. He looks very skilled, especially on the ground. And this young kid, you want to see him do well. He's super likable, and he moves so beautifully. It's going to be an interesting fight for a lot of these reasons.
Sage Northcutt takes on Mickey Gall this weekend for UFC on Fox.